Welcome back to the ESPN HOOPS HITS podcast presented by Tab. I am the Scope, joined by my man, the Grub, and the divisional round playoffs are behind us, mate. Rocking the Eagles jersey, and therefore you are obviously happy with the result, but the bet does continue, and my profile picture is Cooper de Scope or Scope de Jean. Which one? I don't know which one we ended up going with.
Scope de Jean.
Scope de Jean?
I like Scope de Jean.
Okay.
Yeah. And then for some reason, don't act like you care because you're liking it. I reckon
I actually don't hate it. I actually
don't say no. You like it.
And and you know what? I got a soft spot for Saquon Barkley. I really do. He's one of those guys you just can't help but root for. But do you want to get into see what's coming up in the show? There are other results as well, not just all Eagles. So we're not going to spend
is there other games? Whatever, man. If you want.
The Commanders, the rivals of you guys in the NFC East, you're going to be playing for the conference championship because they stun the Lions. The Chiefs also win, and we've got some comments about the ref help that the Chiefs have seemed to be getting recently. The Eagles, they hold on in that winter wonder game. The snow just kept on coming down at the end, which suited you guys, I think, at the back end of that game. The Bills man up against the Ravens. It was always going to be who was going to go on to the next level, who was going to sort of break that duck. Josh Allen does it against Lamar in crazy fashion too. Ohio State, national champions. They beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame did their best work late.
Good game.
But just ran out of time.
Fuck ass.
We have all the action from the UFC on the weekend, 3-11. And has the three-point renaissance ruined the NBA? That's the question we put out there to the fans. So we'll talk about that and we'll get some reactions because I think we're split on it. Yeah. I don't know exactly where you're going to go. But, it's really topical at the moment in the NBA. And we also debate, is Jerry Jones the man to take the Cowboys to the next step, or does he need to employ someone like a proper general manager?
Yes.
Take care of everything.
Hollywood Jones, they call him.
Hollywood Jones. He did a really good job in Landman too, by the way. You ready to get into Left on Red?
Let's get into it, man.
Let's get into it. All right, let's kick it off, and we're going to start at Instagram, and this one comes from Paddy Yard, 1988. The refs still ain't hiding those cheap flags. The next one comes from Facebook, and it's from Colton Gentry. All the hate about how the refs favour this and favour that. The refs can't make the Texans miss lead-changing field goals and give 8 sacks. You'll need to learn the sport better. So, a few questionable calls in this game.
Yeah.
I really didn't like the roughing the passer call and flag from Will Anderson on the Chiefs, but I sort of agree with Colton on this in the sense teams are looking for excuses now. I think there's all this chat around the Chiefs getting favourable calls. They are the champions, and in order to be a champion, you've got to beat the champions, and you've almost got to just take everything, all the other variables out of it, and you've got to beat them convincingly, really. And I think that's where teams are getting stuck, and that's where I think the fans are stuck. And the Texans, statistically, were the better team on the day, except for the scoreboard.
Well, first of all, I didn't know that James Harden was at Arrowhead on the weekend because that's what Patty Mahomes is looking like at the moment.
One of the all-time great floppers.
The flopper.
The flopper OG, the flopper
he's the
king.
Flopper OG. And you're going to tell me, Scope, do not tell me that he gets a bit of special treatment.
Oh, it's yuck. Yeah, he does.
Come on. Like our mate LeBron.
Yeah.
Cameron Smith of the NRL world.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. We see it all the time. The Super and good on him.
Do you reckon it's also reputation as well? Like the commissioners, the leaders of the game, they worry about their star players.
Yeah.
And the referees don't want to stuff up if a star player goes down and they're the cause of it and they haven't thrown a flag earlier.
Well, imagine how bad if Patty Mahomes gets a little bit even roughed in a big game like that and they don't call it and then he's out for the Super Bowl. It's going to be huge news.
Huge.
So much pressure back on the NFL.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
you've got to call it right.
You've got to call it exactly right. And we've spoken about it all year.
Yeah.
The January Chiefs.
Yeah.
They've decided to come to the party. Thanks for coming, boys. It was nice of you.
Yeah.
Travis Kelce.
Just doing enough throughout the year.
Just doing enough.
Those wins, defense playing well. All of a sudden, this Travis Kelce, we haven't seen this since, Super Bowl last year?
And he just... it looks like he wants it now. You know, he's blowing up at Mahomes. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. Then he gets the ball right down the middle a few times. But we speak about Kelsey. We speak about Mahomes. But if there's three musketeers, Spagnuolo, God, your defense is good, man. They went after Stroud all day. Pressured him, and just make other teams come up with errors. They've been keeping the Chiefs in all year this year. I feel the D.
Yeah.
I feel they've been the Patty Mahomes of the Chiefs.
I could like I've said this for a while now. I believe there's a lot of credits due to Andy Reid, Spagnuolo, Patty Mahomes, obviously. But the most underrated guy in sports, I think, in American sports, is Chris Jones. The way he goes, the big boy through the middle, the defense is really good. He's their anchor through the middle. He's the one that causes dramas. Other players like Karl Loftus, in years past, the Honey Badger, Snead, players like that have been there before can come up with big plays. It's because he's getting, 2, 3, sometimes 3 offensive linemen are trying to stop Chris Jones, and it opens it up for other people, and they're able to run these exotic blitzes and cause dramas for CJ Stroud and whoever they're playing, whoever's the quarterback. So they're going to be hard to beat.
Speaking about quarterbacks that didn't flop and didn't go down, CJ Stroud, I'll take my hat off to him. He was busted. That knee wasn't looking good, but he kept fighting, and that's what I love to see. Like it's the quarterbacks have got a bad rap for not fighting on, but CJ Stroud was standing in the pocket and he couldn't get the job done. But speaking about beasts, what about Will Anderson Jr.? Oh man, in that first half,
they're set up well. I like the Texans.
Unbelievable.
Forward. Yeah, they're still ascending. They need to sort out their offensive line to help out CJ Stroud. He showed some real toughness in the last couple of weeks.
Love that.
It was a rough year for him. Didn't happen as smoothly as last year. They'd done some more film in him. He got better as the season went on, and he was tough in that game. So credit to the Texans. There's still, I still think there's some better. They're going to be still going to be a problem in the AFC moving forward if they can make a few smart decisions this offseason. Let's get the paddle out. It's Grub or no Grub though. Are the refs favouring the Chiefs? Grub or no Grub to the referees to put a little bow on this segment?
Of course they are. It's definitely Grub, but like I understand what you say. These are the best players in the game, and I don't. Guys like me and you, Hoz, we're not going to get those calls.
We're not going to. And your man Jalen Hurts, he doesn't get
it.
He
don't get the calls.
Lamar doesn't get it.
He doesn't get the calls.
Josh Allen does, so it's going to be interesting.
Hurts got absolutely buckled.
Yeah.
Absolutely buckled.
Lamar got hip dropped out of bounds
and
nothing happened. No flag.
There you go.
All right, let's move on to the next one. This one comes from Facebook, and it comes from Ronnie Darkhorse. In this heartbreaking loss for the Lions and their fans, I mostly feel sorry for Goff and the whole offense. The defense has been band-aiding the holes up. Now a good quarterback like Daniels has exposed them. The other one comes from shout-out KG. I think that's Kevin Garnett too, by the way. KG certified.
KG.
Commanders have accomplished more in 1 year of a rebuild than the Dolphins have in 25 years. I don't know why the Dolphins are getting strays out of all teams from shout-out KG. But Jaden Daniels, the Commanders, your division, I'm confident you can take care of him this time.
This year.
But they're going to be thereabouts for a while because this Jaden Daniels, he's legit. He is legit.
He's the baddest man in the NFL right now. Man, on the weekend, honestly, baddest man in the NFL, most hated man in Detroit.
Yeah.
Surprised he's got through the week. But usually going into this game in Philly, going to be cold. A rookie quarterback coming into Philadelphia, one of the most hostile places in any sport. But for this guy, he's different. He's got this poise about him.
Calm,
he's got this poise about him. He doesn't care. It's like he embraces it.
Yeah.
He actually loves it.
Even going back to the Tampa game a couple of weeks ago when he was the 4th and 2 into ice the game. And he ends up, someone gets through, I think it was Clancy, the defensive tackle, and he just nonchalantly just palms him, stiff arms him away, but did it so smoothly, and he looked so relaxed before it. It was like he had this eeriness, like this calmness about him that was eerie. Every game I see of him now, because I didn't watch as much Commanders games through the year, but the more games I see and watch him play, the more I'm impressed by him. And he's going to be a problem in the East for a while. He's going to be the NFC beast.
You speak about 4th down. Washington were unbelievable. They were number 1 this year in 4th downs. converting fourth downs, and they did it on the weekend.
Yep.
They got you can tell when quarterbacks get a bit nervous on fourth down. I reckon they sort of start looking around, but it's just like he loves it.
Does he?
He's got this safety blanket in Zach Ertz, who's just been unbelievable for him this year, and they've just got this real confidence about him. The only one thing that scares me, why is it scaring me? The good thing for the Eagles is Gibbs ran for over 200.
Well, that was a part of the game. Now, they got behind. We talked somewhere, Ronnie Darkhorse mentioned Goff. Goff's got to take some blame. He threw him the ball three times.
Yep.
J-Mo threw him the ball a time as well. They got behind on the scoreboard, and then therefore they couldn't lean on their really good running game, their offensive line. So the question's now around, is Jared Goff the guy, and can the Lions, after rebound next year, losing 2 games all year, having the bye, coming in this game, getting blown out by a 7th seed.
Yep.
Because they did get blown out.
Absolutely. That's a blowout.
It was back and forth for a while, but the Commanders ended up doing it comfortably. They're going to lose their coordinators. Where to for the Lions from here?
Okay. So I reckon Goff's to blame a little bit.
Yep.
But the new Bears coach in Ben Johnson, you're to blame, brother. You are. Why is he calling trick plays in big games like that?
That's how he rolls.
You say to me, offensive lines and defensive line win games.
Correct.
In a big game like that, why aren't you running the ball? You've run the ball well all year.
Gibbs was running for 10 yards every run.
So this Benny boy, he's meant to be the best.
Yeah.
What's going on? What's he going to do with Caleb Williams?
Well,
run trick plays his whole...
Anything that... any other coordinator that's been with Caleb Williams at the Bears and some of the defensive coordinators and coaching that they've had, Ben Johnson is a massive uptick. And regular season, he's going to do wonders for Caleb Williams. But he has to find that happy medium where, all right, we're doing these fun trick plays and they're getting these highlights throughout the season. But when it comes to playoffs and you've got the guys in front of you, you've got to be able to rely on your guys. But the difference is he's going to go to the Bears where they don't have the offensive line. They don't have the running game. So we're probably going to see more trick plays, to be honest.
No.
But Ben Johnson, he is a very sharp... I think he's going to be really missed at Detroit. Dan Campbell was the heart and soul. He's the head coach. But I think the brains behind the whole operation, because their defense has still been bad over the last couple of years. Yeah. Mind you, they've had a whole heap of injuries.
Yep. But
Ben Johnson has been putting 35 points on the board pretty much every game.
Yeah.
And I think Jared Goff's another one who's going to struggle as well without Ben Johnson.
I just think Goff was going miracle ball all day. And I don't know why. Because he usually doesn't throw. He's been great this year. He's protected the ball really well.
You know what? Shout out to Jaden Daniels and the Commanders for putting the pressure on him.
There you go.
He was doing it so comfortably on the other side. It was putting pressure on the Lions, and the Lions they tried to go touchdown for touchdown. And once the Commanders took that pick to the house, it was almost all over for the Lions.
Bit of scoreboard pressure.
Let's move on to your Philadelphia Eagles, and this one comes from Holla DC. The Giants really made us believe that Saquon was washed. And the next one comes from WDE Sortel, Jalen Carter, game wrecker. How did 9 different teams let this man fall to the Eagles? I've been saying this for 2 years now. I couldn't believe when he was dropping in the draft after watching him play at Georgia. They call him the baby rhino. And I said before the game, we were texting on our WhatsApp group, you guys were a little bit worried. You're a little bit worried about this game.
Yep.
Don't worry. You've got Jalen Carter on one side and you've got Saquon on the other and you've got your offensive line. Commanders are going to be tough, but I like the way you guys are looking.
Horo, does this show, because he had a bad rap on him. So, Jalen. So,
off-field, locker room presence.
So how bad must have he been? Because that's to drop that low and for us to pick him up and give him a chance is awesome for us. But I just thought about this when this topic come up. I was like, he must have had a really bad track record.
Yeah.
Because that is very, very... So a guy like that, a beast like that, to be let go through so many teams is so uncommon.
Couple of national championships at Georgia.
Unbelievable.
The communication from the staff at Georgia must have been crazy bad. And he's had moments throughout the year. Even this year, he's going back and forth. And I think Sirianni was trying to blow up at him on the sideline halfway through the year. And he's just smiling at him. And you could tell he wasn't listening. So you live and die by the sword. When you get a guy as talented as he is, if you get him to lock in, if he's driven and he's focused and you've got a genuine chance, he's going to be the best. He could arguably be the Super Bowl MVP. That's how damaging he could.
Yeah.
He shut the game out on Matthew Stafford when it mattered the most against a pretty good offensive line. The Rams had done a pretty good job for a lot of the game in awful conditions. But Saquon, he was otherworldly. He reserved last week against the Packers. Maybe he took that slide for a reason.
Yep.
Because he wasn't sliding in this game. He was taking it to the house.
Well, when he took it to the house, he ran to the sideline. How could he do his hemi there going at full speed? But yeah, you're right about Jalen Carter. He just a big moment was when it was. I think it was 3rd and 2, and don't know why they called this play, but Stafford got sacked for an 8-yard loss. It was like right at the end of the game. Jalen Carter. It won us the game.
That closed the game.
It did. It did.
Yeah.
It won us the game. And Saquon's unbelievable. Like, I've never seen, well, me personally, I honestly don't think I've ever seen a running back do it so easy. But our offensive line, the gaps that are opening up for him.
Shout out to Aussie Jordan Mailata.
They're huge. Like, they are huge. And you can just see he just claps it on when he gets through. You're not catching him.
There was one point where Barkley made, it was Hurts. Hurts broke through. They pulled Jordan Mailata to the right edge. They'd done such a good job in the offensive line and the deception of handing off to Saquon. Jordan Mailata was looking for people to block. And then he eventually got the safety, and Hurts runs it for 42 yards and starts the game in emphatic fashion. So pre-game, build up, Jared Verse, the defensive young gun defensive end that they've got for the Rams, who was really good again, by the way. He had a whole heap of chat before the game. Hates the Philly fans. Hates you too, by the way. He personally called you out. Said he hates all the Eagles fans.
What's he doing now?
Grub or no grub? Because he was before the game. He was waving to the crowd. He was saluting to them, and him and Jalen Carter had some words as well. So grub or no grub for your man Jared Verse.
Well, before there was a personal attack on myself, it was actually a no grub because I'm all for it. You know that.
Flipping it.
But now, it's staying because you're telling porkies. But I like it. As long as he doesn't overstep the mark. He walked out into Philly. He's confident. He's backing himself I used to do that. I used to walk over to the hill at Brookie, give him a little,
score a try, maybe touch the logo,
touch the logo, and I'm all for that. Hence the nickname.
Yeah, the grub. What I mean? Yeah, I thought you might like that. I was trying to throw out a little bit of JST on that one. We've got a meme for Mark Andrews after the performance that he had in the Ravens game. That's Mark Andrews trying to board the flight back to Baltimore. The Ravens just don't want him on there.
No.
A couple of real stinkers at the back end of the game. The Bills survived a second half scare. In my opinion, the Ravens were the better team. The Ravens lost this game. Did Lamar's turnovers cost the Ravens? Who should take the most blame in this? Lamar, 2 turnovers. Mark Andrews, turnover, and then a drop for the. Mind you, even if they do get that 2-point conversion, doesn't Josh Allen had a whole heap of time on the clock?
Yep.
Or go back to the play calling early on. Lamar throws a bomb to Rashad Bateman, gets tackled 2 yards out. They try to pass it a couple of times. Lamar gets sacked. Hand the ball off to Derrick Henry 3 times. Why are you trying to
Well, how did they win the game last week, Hoz?
Derrick Henry nearly ran for 200 yards.
And why would you change that? So
why do coaches try to get tricky when they've just Lamar runs the ball well.
Yep.
Derrick Henry runs the ball well. You were doing the RPOs last week and it was working. The Buffalo Bills, they're not a huge defense. They're not a great run stopping defense. You played right into their hands.
Mark Andrews, jump in business class for me. Jump in. Get in that window and jump in.
He's getting biz.
Yeah, no, probably not biz economy because he did drop a couple of poor passes.
But he's on the plane.
Lamar.
Okay.
Lamar.
Yeah.
What's Lamar paid a year?
$55 million.
So there you go. You want to be on the big bucks?
Yep.
Own those moments.
Yeah.
You can't come up with that interception. What was that play? How do you get intercepted 15, 20 meters past the block? It was a weird. It was a silly play.
There was relatively no pressure on him.
No pressure. So, and this is what we always talk about, Hoz. Why does he keep doing this in this game?
Because he wants to prove people wrong.
So he's not.
People
So is he not a team player?
That's a strong statement. That is a strong statement.
But it's not about Lamar all the time, Hoz.
I think he's trying to prove in big moments, and I think people will get guilty of that in times. He needs to focus on what he's good at. And he had a running back who's a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
And they paid $15 million, and they have a good offensive line, and he gets caught up in wanting to throw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns, and it's him against Josh Allen. And again, that's where he's come undone.
So this is okay. So I'm flipping. I'm a Lamar fan. I still love him, but I love Josh Allen's comments after the game. Josh Allen threw for 147 yards, 2 touchdowns. He goes, I didn't throw the ball too much, but I got the job done. Meaning he done what he had to do to win that game, and he will analyze the game and do what he's got to do. That's why I love the Bills. They all speak about that. Every time they talk, it's whatever it takes to win, and I love that. It's just that mentality. They've got their running game going, so we're going to stick with the running game. Josh Allen, you don't have to be the superstar all the time, and that's why I think the Bills are going to be hard to beat. Next week it might be a shootout with Mahomes. Could be, but I'll back him to go toe-to-toe with him. So
yeah, that's
I love
the thing.
that about him.
You got to play to how the game is playing out. And you're right. These two have had some pretty good shootouts in the last couple of years, so we could see something like that. And Patty Mahomes, Tom Brady, for as good as they've been, in playoffs, sometimes it's just all about handing the ball off, letting your running back do the work, and letting the other team basically blow it. Sometimes it's been that. Other teams imploding, trying to beat them, and that's what the Ravens did. Let's move on to the national championship game. There have been still some chat about the format.
Yep.
I feel the same about the format. I think 8 teams would have been the perfect scenario, because then you still do get in Notre Dame and Ohio State who tweaked in. I think 12 teams was an overkill, but 4 teams was never enough, and it gave an opportunity for teams that only lost 1 game. Mind you, it was a really bad game against Michigan where it looked bad for Ohio State, but geez, they've improved since then. They win the national championship game. Got a little bit scary there at the end. Will Howard ices it with Jeremiah Smith, and then they kick a field goal to win the game, and Ohio State are officially the champions of college.
The dynamic duo comes down to Will Howard. Big throw, big moments. I like it. I like the 12.
Yeah.
Because Notre Dame were 8th, weren't they?
8th.
So I'm pretty sure
it was 7 versus 8. So one of them was 7 or 8.
So man, that goes to show you can win it from anywhere.
Yeah.
I don't mind the 12 teams, because I don't know how many colleges there are, but there is heaps of colleges fighting for it.
Yeah.
We have a top 8 in the NRL, and there's 16 teams.
Yeah.
So I don't mind that. I like the playoffs. It makes it a little bit more juicier. There's another week of playoffs. Notre Dame were
if next year and the following year the bottom 4 teams get blown out again like they did in the first week, do you think then they'll potentially, because even though 5, 6, 7, 8 go really well, they knock off the top teams the following week. Feels like the 9, 10, 11, 12 just weren't even close to standard.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. It's like there's no use for even having that round, but yeah, I'm sticking with it. I like it. I like the 12 teams, and gee, what a year. Ohio, the Buckeyes, we backed them from a long time, from a few weeks ago, didn't we?
We said the winner out of the Texas game as well, Ohio State. That was always going to be the team. Notre Dame, the Flying Irish, they showed some fight. They got back in the game, but Ohio State, too good. Let's move into the UFC over the weekend. This one comes from ACD MMA. Merab is straight up humiliating an entire generation of UFC bantamweights. UFC 311, 311. Merab wins again. Grub or no grub for the taunting from Merab during his fights?
He took it too far this time. Only reason I'll say that is because he nearly got taken down.
Yeah, okay.
When he was...
So he's distracted himself.
He literally was. And even his corner, when he went to his corner, they were like, man, snap out of it.
Yeah.
Like, you're winning the fight. But it was a little bit... He took it way too far.
Yeah.
Like, honestly. But he's a beast.
The kissing of O'Malley wasn't... Did we give that grub or no grub?
I don't think we...
I think we no grub that as well. We like Merab. I think we like the personality, but you're right. He's got to be careful that it doesn't cost him.
And that fight was close.
Yep.
Like, I'm talking like very close. Like, the start of that fight, I don't think I've ever seen 2 fighters show each other so much respect, because they were, for a whole minute, they were like,
trying to figure each
what
other
are we
out.
doing here? What are we doing here? And then it's like,
get your distance.
like both of them. I don't think I've seen 2 guys try to take each other down, but the strength of their takedown defense was unbelievable. But then it turned into a street fight, and then it went stamina. Who could go the longest? Both fighters were just the condition of both of them would just peak. It even looked like Umar landed the biggest strikes earlier in the fight, but yeah, like it did get me. I'm all for a bit of carry on, but I honestly thought he nearly lost that fight because.
You're right. I'm with you on that. He's got to be careful moving forward that it doesn't distract. He clearly has fun while he's out there.
Yeah.
He's trying to sell fights. I think that's a big part of it. The more you sort of, stuff around, get people to talk about you, the more money you make for fights. So I think that's the strategy behind it. Talking about strategy, there's no strategy with Islam Makhachev. He just goes in there. He gets the job done.
Yep.
He's just dangerous. Look, there's been a lot of chat about the fights being boring with him as well because the style of fighters that these Dagestanian and Eastern European fighters are fighting with, but it's not their job to entertain. Like Merab, we talked about Merab before.
Yep.
I respect Islam more because it's less carry on.
Yeah.
It's all business, and he's going in there to win titles. He's going in there to win fights. He's going in there to improve his record, and he did this one quite comfortably.
And he didn't have to take this fight or something. His opponent pulled out.
Yeah.
I think
that's a couple of times now.
And that's
a couple of times people are pulling out with Makhachev.
Do people understand how hard it is? You do a full camp against whoever you're going to fight, and then three days before you got to totally the mindset just to be like, I know what I'm going to do and I'm going to stick to it is brutal. Like that is what you call ruthlessness. Like it's unbelievable. He's just on a different level. He has to go. He has to be a 2-division champ.
Yeah,
he has to go up to the welterweights.
Yeah,
that's the only way. For me, because no one's coming close to him. It's actually like, I agree. It is a bit boring to watch, but he doesn't care. Yeah. He's about his business. But, like Bilal Muhammad's the welterweight champ. I actually think he'd take him.
Yeah?
Straight up. Big call. But I just think I don't know. There's like, we compare him to Khabib. There's them two guys. There's something about them, their mindset, their mentality is, I just don't think they'll ever lose.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's what he's got to do. He doesn't have to. He can
whatever they're doing in those training camps, they've got a solid crew over there. I've seen Habib talking about fighters that want to go and train with them. You get an opportunity to train with him. He says, I don't need them. I've got 20 or 30 good guys. We've got training spar. We can spar with whoever, and we know exactly what we've got in our gym, and that's all we need. So,
love that.
He's got some pretty good fighters in that camp, and they're going against each other. And even though Habib's not fighting anymore and he's been a couple of years removed, he'd still be in great shape and he'd still be good preparation for Islam. And I'd love to see it, but that
it would never happen.
The speculation, the hypotheticals.
What about Merab? What about Khabib? What if Khabib come back for one fight? Who do you think he'd fight? Do you think he's still got any beef with anyone at the moment?
No, I don't think so. No. Maybe the flight attendant from the flight a couple of weeks ago.
Wow, did they know who it was? Honestly, come on.
I don't think they did.
Okay.
It was a massive blunder. It's mad disrespect. And shout out to Habib, who's arguably one of the most dangerous human beings on the planet. To show the restraint, he did a good job.
He wrestles bears, that bloke, man.
He wrestles bears for fun. Fun, not even for titles, for fun. All right, let's move on to Facebook, and this one comes from Peter Curtis. NBA is such a poor example of basketball. Fundamental things aren't done. Screens are nearly all offensive fouls. The next one comes from Facebook, and it's Slav Redlowski. The best product to watch on the planet is FIBA, International Basketball. A virtual hybrid of the NBA and Euro basketball, less space, more physical, and fairer battle on both ends. The three-pointers ruining the NBA product, Grub?
For me personally, no. I like it. I like the three-point game. Yep. I love how they, like Steph Curry dribbling down the court, setting up a nice screen, and I like that. But
there's still a whole heap of skill involved in it, right?
Man, come on. Yeah. That's training. They got to do that. And, but I do understand the other side of it too. That's why I'm sort of on the fence with this one. I like being on the fence. But, when you got someone like the Splash Brothers, right? Steph, I love watching them.
Yep.
But then you got someone like...
I appreciate the way they create space for it as well.
100%.
Because you can, not easily, but it's also up to the defender to get through screens, have defensive IQ to make the play and get a hand up and put some pressure on, just as much as it is when a player tries to drive to the lane and the center tries to block him. It's the same concept. You got to have improved cardio. Like one thing that's underrated about Steph Curry and has always been his cardio, how much he moves around the court.
It's unbelievable.
To get open, to get those shots, because if it was that easy, then everyone would be doing it at a high clip. And now I know there is a lot of shooting, but not the way that Steph Curry does it.
No one's even near him. And you look at last year, the Celtics shot the most threes out of anyone. The Mavs second.
And they do it through team basketball, though.
They're there.
They drive, they kick out, they play. They're technically really sound with it. They spread the ball, and they make the pass to the open man. So there's still, I guess, for the old-fashioned lover of basketball, there's still that form of it, even though 3 points is more than two. That's the biggest difference.
Do you think the game, though, tries to make guys like Ant Edwards, who doesn't mind to shoot one every now and then, try and be like Klay Thompson? Do you think that's what pushes him towards?
I think Ant Edwards looks at guys like Steph Curry and who have been successful, and he looks at the Boston Celtics and they were successful and they shot the most threes and goes, I'm wasting all this energy trying to drive and run a pick play and get to the lane and getting hacked at when I could just easily sit back a couple of more feet and knock down a few threes. And I might not get as many, but eventually I'll start making them. And then I guess that's where the problem comes in with it.
Yeah, it has taken away the mid-range game, but hasn't it a fair bit?
The mid-range is a low percentage play now.
Yeah, it actually is, isn't it? Yeah, so I'm all for it, but I do understand probably old school basketball, that generation.
And that's why my basketball career never took off, because I live in the mid-range.
You live in the mid-range.
That's where I do my best work.
Threes, just you haven't got enough.
No, I don't have. My shoulder's a little bit sore. I can't make those big ones. So you leave me open in the key, just outside the key.
Yeah.
I'm draining that every day. High percentage.
Fade away or no?
No fade. Just sit there and pop. No one can block me anyway. Everyone's 6'1"
I've
below.
got some length.
All right, let's get this new segment. Producer Shabs has put this out. Let's see what the fans think about Jerry Jones. We put it out there. We posted it. Should Jerry step down? On Instagram, Jar456 does a bear poo in the woods. And the next one comes from Twitter.
Was that the actual
Maybe
tweet?
Potentially.
Yeah.
There was another word. And the next one comes from Kevin Gray Sports. Cowboys fans watching the Commanders and Eagles make the NFC title game.
Yeah.
While Des and Micah are beefing online and the team is still looking for a head coach, but realizing nothing will change because Jerry Jones runs the team. So there's no one really in favor of Jerry. Where do you sit? Should Jerry step down and get a proper general manager in to run operations?
Absolutely. And look, it's either people have got to understand that he's never going to change. It's all about Jerry Jones. The Cowboys is about Jerry Jones. It's not about Micah Parsons. It's not about Dak Prescott. It's not about CD Lamb. And they've got to understand that it is about Jerry Jones. And the crazy thing is, though, he'll sit in his lounge room this week, watch Philly take on Washington, both in the same division. I don't think he'll even really care because he doesn't. It's all about Jerry Jones. It is all about him. But it's just an example. You know, he brought in Mike McCarthy. He got rid of the defensive coordinator and an offensive coordinator, guys that wanted to be Cowboys. But sometimes he's got to understand that it's not all about the expertise. It's about having people that want to be in that place. You know, people that want to be Cowboys.
He's always sort of had yes men.
Yeah.
I feel like there. Mike McCarthy, Jason Garrett before then. You go back to, I guess, the last person, and he kicked him out after he won a couple of Super Bowls. Jimmy Johnson, who just would do his own thing, ran the team exactly how it needed to be ran, won him some Super Bowls, and they haven't been able to get back anywhere close since playoffs, nothing. So I would not be stepping down if I'm Jerry Jones.
Yep.
I've earned billions of dollars. The franchise is, despite not making the playoffs, one of the most valuable franchises in the world. And I'm a billionaire and I can do whatever I want. And at the end of the day, if these players don't like it, if these coaches don't like it, if these people in the media in Dallas don't like it, they can go. Because Jerry Jones is not afraid to tell people in the media too, hey, you're not going to get an interview or you're not going to be working for us. He'll just make, and that's what comes, it's FU money. Yeah. Jerry does whatever he wants.
Okay, so you spoke about getting a GM in possibly. So, okay, let's just say hypothetically a Gus Gould-like person. I don't think Jerry's ego would let someone like that come into the building. But it'd be good. Yeah. It would be good for them because Jerry can still be Jerry. You can still be Showtime, Hollywood.
Yep.
But he'll get the players, the coaches, everything else in check.
Football operations.
The football.
Yep.
Get that down pat. But come on, man. It's not all about building these big facilities and, making it the best experience at Dallas Cowboys Stadium. It's all about, as a player, like you want stability in the coaching staff. You don't want coaches who are on edge. They're not going to perform to their best ability because Jerry goes on ESPN all the time and he'll say something about a player or a coach and you're like, really? Did you have to do that on ESPN? So, look, I got a question for you. If Jerry Jones, the GM, and Jerry Jones, the person, were two separate people,
yep,
he would have fired the GM.
Jerry Jones would have got fired
years ago.
And Jerry Jones, the GM, would not have a gig anywhere else too.
Anywhere.
He'd be Canadian League.
So
he won't even be over here in the NRL. Buying a team here in the NRL.
Yeah.
And then football manager over here.
He also said Derrick Henry doesn't fit into the Cowboys culture, which is an interesting comment. I
think he said something around the lines that he wouldn't have been as effective. And you know what? I think he's not. They needed to fix the offensive line. Dak was injured. Cooper Rush. I think that's what he's alluding to. But, geez, it would have been nice to have Derrick Henry over Rico Dowdle anyway.
No offense, Rico.
Let's move on to the GOAT of Hoops and Hits, the Pick-6 presented by Tab. Cynthia is back. We let her down last week. She had the one loss as well. No one's seen the Lions versus Commanders coming. So she did lose on the Lions. Pacheco, unfortunately, doesn't get a touchdown. Told you my man J-Mo threw a pick, but he also got a tutty.
Fifth string.
Fifth best option?
Fifth best option.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at who has Cynthia got for a couple of same-game multis for this week.
Grub and Horo, happy championship weekend. I have a pick-6 for you for this weekend's action. First and foremost in the NFC, the Eagles to win the game. Add on top of that, Saquon Barkley to score a touchdown and Jalen Hurts to rush for more than 30 yards. In the AFC's game, I have the Chiefs winning that one alongside a Josh Allen rushing touchdown and to finish it off, a Travis Kelce touchdown as well.
I like that. I like that. I might be having to play on that responsibly.
Yeah, very responsibly.
Yeah.
You know what I don't like?
What's that?
Why has she got a Detroit Lions jersey in the background when they cost us this week? I might give Cynthia a call.
Is that Barry Sanders, 22? I'd imagine that might be a Barry Sanders. What number was Barry Sanders? Looks like an OG. Maybe she's a Detroit fan from way back.
Yeah, well, they cost us. I can see it on our.
Yeah, you can see the Detroit L right here.
L.
I also can see your Pacheco L there as well. So
yeah, I can
let's not get into Cynthia too bad there.
Stones.
Remember, if you want to follow Cynthia's tips, you can get all the previews of all the NFL games available now on the Tab app.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
All right, Grub, that is it for this week of Hoops and Hits, mate. How are you feeling? I feel like I'm more confident than you and producer Shabs about your Eagles. It's going to be a tough game. Commanders are playing with house money, but I like what the Eagles are doing. I like your O-line. I like your D-line. And I love Saquon Barkley.
I'm nervous about Hurts. He didn't look himself after that knee injury. And so it's interesting. No real comments have come out. He says he's playing, but even if he does play, he just wasn't throwing the ball as confidently off pivoting off that knee. So I'm very, very nervous. But Saquon against that Washington defense that gave up 200, I think he's going to have a field day. Yep. And I think we'll win. I'm
Saquon
confident.
ran all over him a couple times. He was killing it against him the second time. Me and Shabs were talking about this. Then Jalen got injured. Then they loaded the box.
Yep.
Stopped Saquon a little bit. Kenny Pickett comes on. Not as effective. So you really are going to be, sweating on Jalen's fitness, not only through the week, but in the game. But good luck, mate.
Thank you.
I'm looking to keep the Cooper to Scope profile going all the way through. And we'll see you next week on Hoops and Hits.